There's never been so many foreign students in this country. A report from the Centre for Migration Control has found that there was a massive 787,000 international students at UK universities in the last academic year. But while we know the impact that's having on net migration, it's also damaging for British students. And joining me now is Sunil Sharma, Chief Operating Officer at the Conservative Friends of the Commonwealth, to go over this. The figures are eye-watering, and everything seemed to change when universities became businesses and foreign students quite simply pay significantly more to get into these universities. On the one hand, tickety-boo if you're a university, but not so good news if you're, for example, a working-class British student who can't financially compete and you're seeing yourself forced out of the market.
Definitely. I think one of the things to also bear in mind with the student visas is the amount of students bring families with them, so the dependents with them. I know it's only something that the Suella government did at the start of this year, but we saw from the last 4 years an 8-fold increase in the amount of dependents coming into this country. So initially around 13 to 16,000 in 4 years ago. Now we're at 136,000 of dependents, not even university students, but dependents from these students, which is a massive, massive strain on our economy, strain on our resources, and I think that's something that we must bear in mind.
And also, Sunil, something that's changed in the last couple of years alone is the number of students who stay on after they graduate. It used to be typically about 20% stayed on, but the figures out a few weeks ago, 65% of those students now remain in the UK, and it stands to reason that they're placing huge strain on public services.
For sure, and I think one of the frustrating things about a lot of these figures that we're getting reported, sometimes we're not completely sure of the accuracy. There was a report only a few years ago that said around 100,000 students stay in this country illegally. That they then later, ONS decided to change it, said it's between 1,500 to 100,000, which is a massive broad spectrum there. So I think there's even a chance that they may be even higher, and I think that's a massive strain. But I think this shows, on a much broader sense, that immigration is bigger than just stopping the boats. For you know, that's the massive government rhetoric, which is a fair and right rhetoric. But I think this shows if we're going to control our borders, we've got to do more than just stopping the boats.
And specifically about universities, what can be done about this? Because ostensibly we have a private sector. Can the government legislate against this? Can it impose quotas? I'm from a white working class background. I was the first lad in my family to go to university, and that was because I got a full grant. I could never, ever afford to go to university now, and I wonder how many people are missing out on that opportunity because they've just been forgotten.
I think there's so many different ways that we could tackle the university situation. I think we could remove a lot of the courses. A lot of the courses we know don't go on to produce jobs afterwards, so maybe we cut down the amount of courses. That will, mean that we would save a lot of money in terms of costs. I think apprenticeships is a massive important scheme. Now it seems you can't get a job unless you go to university, which I think is a massive problem. I think that's why we have real problems in our labour services, because a lot of jobs don't require university. So I think having less courses, more stronger courses, making it easier for British students to get in, I think this would have a massive, massive impact.
Back in the day, Tony Blair, it was just education, education, education. I think we've lost translation somewhere along the line of what that means, and how can we switch these kids back onto more kind of occupation-based studies? I think you're dead right about apprenticeships, for example.
Well, I think there is the attraction in some ways right now. You're paying £9,000 minimum to get into university. Yeah. I think at schools they need to be educated, having career days, having shown the different jobs that are out there. I think at the moment, for a lot of students, for a lot of younger people, they don't know physically what jobs they can get once they get out of education. So for them, they see the culture of university, they see how much it's pushed on them. So I think educating the children from a young age and saying we need service-based jobs, we need jobs that don't require universities, and I think getting that mindset out. Tony Blair successfully got everyone into the education mind frame. Whether that was actually successful for the country is a different story, but I think it's very important, because there is a massive lot of people in this country who have been left behind, I think, from this university culture.
Okay, super stuff. Thank you for joining us on the show, Sunil Sharma. Excellent stuff.